All right, so today I'm going to be doing an oil change on a 2018 Jeep Renegade, and this is the 2.4 liter four-cylinder engine, and it's going to be using 6 quarts of motor oil. That includes the oil that goes into your oil filter itself. Now, I like to use the AMSOIL product, but you can use any other Pennzoil, you can use Mobil 1, any of that, as long as you have the 0 weight 20 motor oil. And if you need, just go right here to your oil cap and it will say the 0 weight 20. So that's what you want to put inside of your engine after you drain it out. So the oil filter itself is the EA15K50. So let's get underway. All right, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is jack your vehicle up so you have enough room that you can slide up underneath the vehicle to access the oil pan and your oil filter. The other thing I like to do too is I like to run the engine just for a couple minutes just to warm it up and then get the oil moving. And that way it heats up the oil and you'll get all that oil out of the oil pan. All right, so the only tools that you're going to need is a floor jack or even like your scissor lift or anything to that nature that you have in the trunk of your car. You can use that too. An oil filter wrench itself, 16 millimeter socket, a funnel so you can put the oil into the engine without it spilling all over the place. And then you're also going to need some kind of a catch basin, oil pan, something to catch the oil when you take the oil drain plug out. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take out the oil pan bolt. This will be your oil pan, and this is the oil pan bolt right there. Now, the oil pan will be located on the passenger side of the vehicle, and go ahead and take this out. It's a 16 millimeter, but make sure you have some kind of an oil pan to catch the oil in, or you're going to have one heck of a mess all over your all over the ground. Sometimes there's a splash shield. This one did not have one, but there will be a splash shield that goes underneath there. It's plastic, but it should still have access to the oil pan bolt and to your oil filter itself. All right, so go ahead and take out your oil pan bolts and go ahead and drain it. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to clean the bolt before you put it back in. The crush washer, you want to inspect that. And then also you want to clean the mating surface of the oil pan itself. So the other thing too is when you install this, go ahead and bring it up just past hand tight. Now, I jumped on the website, on the Jeep website, and actually found the torque specifications. So if you have a torque wrench handy, it's 25 foot-pounds of torque for your oil drain bolt. The other thing too is on the website, it was showing that this you would take off with a 13 millimeter socket. However, mine must be an oddball because this one is a 16 millimeter. So let's go ahead and install this. All right, so now we're going to remove the oil filter. It's about dead center of the engine. And what we're going to do is put down your oil pan right below it, and then we're going to get your oil filter wrench, which is this. And then you're just going to pop it on there and put the pressure, and then you're going to turn it counterclockwise. Sometimes it gets on there and it slips a little bit, but there you go, it's loose. So let's go ahead and make sure that oil pan is underneath there. And also too, when it's hot, that oil is pretty warm. So be careful of that also. We'll go ahead and unscrew that. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and Put that in the oil pan, and let's just let this drain for a few minutes. All right, so before installing the new oil filter, what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's the same size in length, width, and also you want to make sure that this seal here is the same. So what you're going to do is you're just going to set it on top just like this, and then you want to make sure that that seal is wet with oil when you take it off. Also check the that it's the same in the width, and also if you stand it up next to it, make sure it's the same depth. And then if you look on the actual rubber gasket, it's all wet with oil, so that is correct. All right, so before you install your filter, what you're going to do is just dip your finger in your oil and then just run it around that seal right there just lightly, and then you can go ahead and screw this in. All right, so the rule of thumb is when you're tightening your oil filter itself, you want to spin on your new oil filter to about 1/3 to 1/2 a turn past hand tight. So I usually do around 1/2 a turn. All right, so at this time, go ahead and drop down the vehicle. You no longer need your floor jack. You want this as flat as you possibly can so you can get the most accurate reading off your oil dipstick. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pull the oil filler cap off, put it in your funnel, and then start adding in your quarts of oil. Okay, knowing that this is a 6-quart system, we're going to put in 5 quarts, and then after your 5 quarts, you're going to start up your engine, let it run for about 3 minutes so that oil can circulate into the oil filter. And all oil filters are different on the capacity and the volume of the oil. So what you want to do is you want to be on the safe side and add oil. You just don't want to take it out. Okay, I just got done adding the 5 quarts of oil, and so I pulled the funnel out and then just replaced the oil filler cap. All right, so now that we ran it for 3 minutes, just let it cool down for a couple. Let's go ahead and pull the oil dipstick. You're going to want to clean it off to get the most accurate reading. All right, so let me show you where your oil should be. So this is your low side. So at the very bottom of these hash marks, at the very bottom here, that's the low of the oil capacity. So that is the lowest that you want to go with your oil. If it drops below that, you need to add more oil. So you need it in between the low and the high. And I always fill it to the high, and that is manufacturer specification. So you do want to fill it to the top hash mark here. So you want to be up at the very top. So in between here is fine, and it's okay, it's acceptable, but the ideal is at the very top. So go ahead and get your oil capacity up to that top mark. All right, so here we are checking this. Okay, so right now, if you look at it, it actually is on the lowest mark, so it needs 1 more quart of oil. All right, so I just added the last quart of oil, and that's exactly where you want to be, right there. So see the upper hash mark right there? That is where you want to be, so it's at the very top. All right, so if you have your maintenance reminder oil reset light that pops up on your dash, so after you're done changing your oil and you need to get it to reset back to 0, it's super easy to do. It's also called an oil service interval light. You go ahead and turn your vehicle to the on or accessory position. You do not want to start the engine. So you push in your start stop button 1 time, keep your foot off the brake, and then what it will do is it'll pop up, and right there it says oil change required. Push the gas pedal down 5 times. So push down, release, push down, release, push down, release, push down, release, push down, release. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start the car up, and that oil reset service interval light goes away.